Hello and welcome to Take You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I'm your host, JP John Paz. And of course, joining me to star of the show, the former WWE World Tag Team Champion, 8-time Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Champion, one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
John, I'm doing great today. Thank you very much. You look like you're doing great because you've got your office remodeled and it looks very nice.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
So I
yeah, it looks great.
had a bit of an issue in there, so I had to move out
Sure.
here for now. So it's a little bit
Oh,
of a change, getting used to it.
yeah, yeah, I like it. I like what's that right behind your left shoulder? That's a
Oh,
really
over here.
cool looking.
Oh, it's my
Well,
son's
that
Hot
see, that's your
Wheels
left.
toy.
That's
Yeah,
your left shoulder, isn't it? Yeah,
this.
that's your.
That's
Yeah,
my
that
right.
one.
Yeah.
That's your left shoulder, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's
I was
my
right. I
my
can't tell.
son's what the hell is it called? Hot
There's.
Wheels Super Ultimate Garage. Come on, it's
Don't
awesome.
tell me you haven't done it. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I invaded his space because of the office there. Yeah.
Why not? You've got the right. You're paying the
Yeah,
bills until he
that's true.
starts stepping up. Then you just say move over. I'm coming in. Nice
That
look. I like it.
that's true. Before we get started, Blake says Dr. Tom is my boy. Wow.
Right on, Blake. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think we met somewhere. I have no idea. It's all
Blake the
good.
Snake. Blake the Snake Hansen.
Blake.
Dr. Tom is
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. Blake the Snake. I like it. And Ralph. We know Ralph. You know what's up, Ralph.
Ralph Macchio.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So what's been
Happy
going on
days.
in the world of JPWA?
We have been having blasts this week. Actually, we're on the wait 1 minute here. Okay, we're on. This is the 10th week. We have 2 more weeks left for graduation. Had one of our guys from last year, Will Kennedy. Kennedy stopped by and brought me some tortillas from tortilla homemade tortillas from Arizona, and it was very nice. So we had a visitor from Malaysia this
Whoa.
week. Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Shaukat, a fellow who emailed me a while back and said he got the book, which we'll talk about later on,
Yep.
and created wrestling and a wrestling class in Malaysia thanks to the book. So he came over Monday and Tuesday, trained with us. And he said it to Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. He went there
Oh.
this morning, going to Houston, and so that's the way you do it. I mean, if you have nothing there, then you make it, and that's what this fellow did. And for 7 years, he has been going by my curriculum and uh, help some people out over there. He has a TV show, a ATV, APAC TV, and very, very cool. So it's been good.
Ibsen, what's going on?
Ibsen is hello, and Tim Frederick.
Timmy, yes.
Yes,
Hello. What
I
is this?
like it.
Dr. Tom is number one from Heracles.
Hercules, I hope you're doing well. I really do. He's another former student. Years ago, I had him in a leg
Wow.
scissors. Yes, yes, yes. I had him in a leg scissors. While I was sitting down, he tied my shoes together. Yes, he did.
Wow, that's an old Owen Hart trick.
Well, it's an old Hercules trick too.
Yeah.
I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
Guy's a promoter. He's a preacher. He gets people to listen to him. So Hercules, thanks for tuning in. I hope you're doing great.
Nice. And of course, this is the random, just got to mention this random Hall of Fame talk because, Mike wants to get the Hall of Fame talk in. Earthquake, Nasty Boys, Hall of Fame. I think both.
I do
I'd put them
too.
both in. Yeah. There's no or there. I'd put them both in.
No, I do too. I think and the Nasty Boys. My goodness, why haven't they been in yet? I sure they definitely Knobs and Sags deserve even for their exploits outside the ring. I'll give them Hall of Fame stuff. And
Yeah.
Earthquake, same thing. I certainly believe
Sometimes
so.
Sometimes it makes no sense who's in and who's out. I wish we could have like a relative we could talk to and tell them about it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, pass the word along.
Well, you'll find that if you do have a relative, it doesn't matter anyway in that company.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
It
all
goes to
business.
events.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Stephanie McMahon found out too. So
Yeah.
does Shane. Thank you. So he
Isn't that
had a
crazy?
relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they both had relatives in that company at one time or another. Hey, Bigfoot ain't real. I think I love you back if you're real.
So it's Jimmy
Yes,
Smith from St. Louis.
from St.
Jimmy
Louis.
Smith, look at that. Yeah, how you guys doing? Doing good.
I
So that's
love St.
interesting
Louis.
with
Yes.
Stephanie. That's very interesting because I was reading recently that it was Vince's idea to kind of pull the plug on her.
Well, once again, you never really know in what you're reading, and none of us were there for the meeting, and none of us really were there, so it's all second, third, fourth hand stuff. But yeah, one thing I did learn, if anything at all, because I don't learn a whole bunch of stuff the first time. I really don't. I got to keep going back and get kicked in the head before I realize don't put your head there, you won't get kicked. But I realized that it really is based on what you're doing and the results at the time. For them not to like you, you have to screw up a few times. Not
Yeah.
everybody. I mean, some guys who screw up once and they're out the door, but most people you get a couple chances. So I did learn that part. It doesn't matter who you related to.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Shane, obviously, he still gets paid from them or whatever, but obviously he got showed the door. Stephanie, Triple
It
H.
doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
really doesn't matter. Yeah. So WWE always missed the opportunity for past legends to go in the Hall of Fame, and once that passed, never get the chance to go in there live. Most get inducted when they pass. Yeah, sometimes
Yep.
I see that too. You could be mad at somebody one year and they pass away. Next year, they're not. So I mean, Vader for a long time.
Yeah.
Jack, let me just say this. Hi from Houston, Texas, Paul Bosch days. It's Boesch, by the way. But Houston wrestling, I grew up on, and we watched the match with Gino Hernandez and Chavo Guerrero just this week. Actually, it was Monday, or it might have been yesterday. I'm not really sure the days anymore. They're running together once again. Chavo Guerrero and Gino Hernandez, and Gino with Lutz as a special referee, by the way. But Gino is attacked before he even gets in the ring. And as Gino comes in camera, he's holding some fan's head, just kicking the living hell out of him before the match even starts. And the people were on their feet. That was excitement back then. And I talked about that. Talked about that tonight, actually. And a lot of times I'll ask, why isn't it like that today? And somebody asked, or somebody even mentioned tonight that MJF's promo was mediocre and people react to it because the bar has been set so low. And I said, I think the real answer is MJF is authentic. It's real where people are talking about it. And it was presented differently years ago. It was, the approach was, even though everybody knew it was a performance or thought they knew it was a performance, the guys walked to the ring like it was actually a shoot and actually believed it. And they approached it that way. Didn't let anybody in on it who didn't need to be in on it. And as the years have gone by, everybody's in on it and everybody can do it. So I'm going to just let him go. But Blackus, if you're watching this, that was you call, and I can't talk right now. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Here's just a random one here. Tom, I remember you having the bloodiest interview in the Crow's Nest in Portland wrestling history with Brett Sawyer at your side. Wow.
We had some bloody matches in Portland. Portland was another one of those just really cool, old school, short territories where guys would go to learn or guys would go to ride out their career, kind of like Buddy Rose or Rip Oliver. And I think Mike Miller spent the rest of his career there too, and became the Generals and became a place where you could go learn from good guys. Rip was one of the best. Dave Patterson was one of the best. The Assassin, Dave Sierra, sorry, and it was. I remember some bloody matches in Portland, not just in actually not in Portland, but around the territory.
You and Brett Sawyer. I know you love that tag team.
It was a fun tag team. I did have fun. I will say that much about it. Brett was could be a lot of fun to be around.
In the ring or out of the ring?
Both.
Both.
Both. You've talked to him. You've interviewed him.
Yeah.
You talk.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Right. Sure.
Yeah. No, he's great. I love it. Yeah.
Mhm.
You could tell, he likes to have fun. There's no doubt about that.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't like to have fun? Whatever your fun may be, who doesn't like to have it? I love having fun, John.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, every day.
Oh, here we go. Because I wanted to actually talk about the Armstrongs today
Good.
and kind of your history with them. Great question to start it off as we'll swing to the Armstrongs. How good was Bullet Bob?
The best. For being such a badass, especially here in the South, Bob Armstrong was actually one of the lightest guys I've ever been in the ring with, and even those
Really?
chops. Yeah, he was fantastic. He was a pro's pro, but he was a badass. He was the real deal. There was no facade. He got in the ring. He knew how to do business. He knew how to uh, tell a story and look like he's knocking the hell out of you, tearing your head off. And the great part was he wasn't. He was working. He was making it appear, making that illusion so real. When he chopped you, he chopped you. The chops you had to land and anything else. But every time every time I ever had a match with Bob, or even was part of a match with Bob, it was great. He was one of the very best, not just in the South, but anywhere he went or anywhere he could have gone.
The first match that I have of you with any of the Armstrongs is you and Brad Armstrong teaming up in Georgia Championship Wrestling, May 2nd, 1982. Brad Armstrong and yourself defeated Chick Donovan and Rick Harris, who we know as Ricky Harris,
Yep.
Black Bart, at the Omni in Atlanta. Wow.
Yeah.
That's what goes back away about 40 years.
Yeah, it does. And that's where I first met Brad. That's where I first met the Armstrongs. Hello, Herb.
Good evening, Herb.
Good evening, Herb Simmons. And from then on, it was there was just something about Brad. I met Scott and Steve, and I don't think I met Brian in Atlanta until I met Brian later on, I believe, in Alabama, the Continental Wrestling Federation or Continental Championship Wrestling.
Right.
But from that very beginning, and just it was one of those things where you just automatically know that Brad was the life of the dressing room, the life of the party. He would come in and make everybody laugh, and it was that energy level that just kept things going. When he got in the ring, all business, and just like Bob, he was easy to work with, easy to move around, and one of the very best. Ric Flair has even said Brad was one of the top 5 in the business during his prime, and when Rick would come through the Pensacola area, he always wanted to work with Brad at least in 2 towns and just have a blast, have fun, and that's what they would do. So Brad and all the boys will say this: Scott, Steve, Brian, they'll all say Brad was the best worker out of all the boys. Bob was in a class all by himself. I'll say that. Bob was that guy that you wanted to be in the ring with, and you wanted him on your good side. You wanted to be on his good side, sorry. Because if you weren't, he let you know it. Not that he took liberties, but he was just one of those authentic, real-life badasses. And I'll tell you the story real quick. We were on tour this was, had to be Atlanta or Continental, one of the two. I think it was probably Continental. We Bob, Brad, Kevin Sullivan, and myself had just come back from the gym, and Bob was driving. Brad was in the front seat next to him, and Kevin and I are in the back. And we need to get over to the left to make the turn into the hotel. And Bob just kind of swings over, and then he looks behind him and he realizes he cut in front of somebody, but this was a guy on a motorcycle, and he had his girlfriend or wife on the back, whatever it was. And Bob kind of looked in the rearview mirror and said, "Oh, hey, sorry." And then he looked up and he said, "Why, rip your GD head off, and he jammed it in the park at the light. Got out of the car, and we're looking behind us. Kevin and I and Brad got out of the other side. Said, "Dad, no, please!" And Bullet grabbed the guy by his lapels and was pointing in his face like that at the helmet. Boom, boom, boom. Put him back down. Got in the car, jammed it in the park, squealed out. Got to the hotel, walked to the room, didn't say a thing to us. And Kevin and I just looked at it and said, "Thank God it wasn't us."
Yeah.
So, yeah, because he could snap in a heartbeat. But he was.
I guess the guy gave him the finger, I guess.
He might have. We didn't see. I didn't see what he said. He looked up and said, "Why, I'll rip your head off," jammed in the park. And I went, whew. So I've seen him snap, and that's how I know, because he was such a great guy. Just a pro's pro. So
Tough guy, though, for sure.
tough guy, the real deal, tough guy.
Who chopped harder, Bullet Bob or Wahoo McDaniel?
Well, I was never actually chopped by Wahoo, but I've been chopped by some pretty good guys, and I don't know. I don't know who chopped harder, but it's one of those things. Especially, you have people who enjoy being hit solid, and when you're in the ring with those guys, you'd better learn to enjoy it, or if not, accept it. This is what's going to happen. I never minded chops. I never minded solid forearms. I never minded stuff as long as it was in a safe place. And I know Bob always hit in a safe place. I mean, I would come back. Obviously, sometimes Danny Davis was another guy who used to chop hard, and my chest would be hamburger by the time we got back to the locker room. Bob was the same way sometimes, but it wasn't malicious. It was just that's the way he worked. He was light as a feather when it came to doing anything else, but when he hit you, he knew he had to hit you.
I feel like Wahoo, Johnny Valentine, maybe Bullet Bob, and there's a bunch of guys that hit the hardest. Maybe not to injure the guy, but it felt like, or the history of the guys is always like they probably hit the hardest.
I remember in Tampa with Sheamus trying to figure out things with him too. Stan Hansen and Johnny Valentine would pull the guy over the top rope, turn him around back to the rope on the and guy was standing on the apron, and just do the clubbering forearms. And that was Sheamus. And I said, "This is what those guys did. Try it." And he did, and he still uses it to this day. And those are the guys, again, that you can't deny are real and authentic. And so, yeah, I think there were certain guys at that time, and there's certain guys at this time that lay it in. And like a Brock Lesnar, Lesnar is going to lay his stuff in. But Brock understands what this is, and it's not about killing anybody. It's just about creating that illusion, and Brock's the real deal. And that's that. I keep saying it. I hate to, but I have to say it again. That's what's missing today is a lot of those big, rugged Johnny Valentine, Wahoo types, Bob Armstrong types that lay it in.
Speaking of the Armstrongs, what about the roadie? What was he like when he arrived in the WWF? I know you probably knew from Smoky Mountain and earlier.
Yeah, I knew Brian from I think when he did some stuff in Continental, or it might have been Smoky Mountain. He was the Dark Secret in Smoky Mountain, and he was just like the rest of the Armstrong family, just like the rest of his brothers and his dad. Entertaining, witty, funny, kept everybody on their toes, laughing, and just quick-witted back and forth. And that's all the Armstrongs were. But Brian Road Dogg was he was obviously the best entertainer of the boys. Bullet Bob could entertain. He could dance and come out and have the crowd eating out of his hands. So again, he was in a class all by himself. But Road Dogg, he was great when he arrived in '94. He was put with Jeff, but look what evolved from it.
How was the backstage like when Road Dogg and Double J walked out? Do you remember that when they walked out in '95?
Well, yes. I don't think it was a shock to anybody because there was an undercurrent of unhappiness uh, in that spot with Shawn Michaels and Razor and Jeff Jarrett
Yeah.
and all that going on. So I don't think anybody really was discontent with it except the office, but the boys pretty much got it and understood they had to do what they had to do, and it just felt right for them. So how do you fault somebody for that? Following their heart and following what they believe to be true.
Hey, Dr. Tom, good to see you live again. I at first thought it says alive. I was going to say, oh,
Live,
live.
yeah. Well, I was going to say thanks, Dwayne.
Dwayne Norvell Austin.
Yes,
Yes.
Dwayne Norvell Austin. I like it. So yeah, it's great to be back live again.
How
Oh,
was Scotty Armstrong to work with? You worked with him a lot.
fantastic. Again, all the Armstrongs knew how to work, could all work. And Scott, definitely, he had the fire, he had the feeling. He was great. Steve was great. Road Dogg was great. Brad was great. They were all great. They all had that gene. They all grew up around the bullet, and I'm sure it helped having some of his genes because they all got certain things
Right.
from
That's
bullet.
what it seems like. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. How would you break that down? Because I think Cornette's the one that said originally it's like Bullet Bob's the best. Then he had kids and he took the best of himself and was like,
Yeah.
Okay, Brad, you're the best worker. Steve, maybe a brawler.
Yes.
Scott, you're going to be like the athlete.
Business guy. Scott was more. He was in tune with the business. He knew dollars and cents. Smart guy along that line.
And Road Dogg, you
Again,
got the talk, the gift of gab.
he was a talker. He was the best promo, and out of the boys. Now we're talking Bullet Bob. He had all the attributes, and you're right. He did when he had kids. They got a lot of the little things that Bob had.
Funny, if you add them all up, then you get Bullet Bob, right? I mean, he's like he can talk, he can wrestle, he's a business guy, he ran his own company, he's a promoter. Like if you add up all the kids, you get Bullet Bob.
That was the key, and that's why Bullet Bob was in demand. Wherever he wrestled around the South mainly. When he started, before he started, he was a fireman. And man, I see somebody peeking around your window. I see somebody peeking. I see somebody coming down the stairs. I was just going to tell you, you might want to watch your back.
Yeah,
that's how it happens, and that's how I become a witness. And I don't want to be a witness. I don't have time for a jury trial. Well, now you're taking the camera off. That's just wrong.
I'm back.
Okay, see.
So,
all right.
So here I got a great question for you. Brad Armstrong, why didn't you think he made it bigger? Why wasn't he getting a huge run in the business?
If you listen to Brad on the promos, he was a very serious promo. He was very, yes, sir, Mr. Soley, and well, I don't know, but he was very matter of fact and he was very babyface. In the locker room, he was just the opposite. He would mess with everybody, have fun, play games, and cut promos, and it was a blast. Bullet would go out and cut a promo, and he knew what the people wanted to hear. He knew how to tell a story. I think the main thing that held Brad back was knowing how to cut an entertaining promo like his dad. He had that serious athlete, professional wrestler promo, and I think that might have been the main thing. Just he got great opportunities, and again, when Flair came to town, wherever it was, Flair always wanted to have a couple matches with Brad Armstrong. He was in the territory for at least a week or 2 weeks, and those nights he wanted to go out and just enjoy himself with Brad. I think he'd been doing that since '82 in Atlanta or whenever Brad started.
Should he have gotten a bigger run though, other
Well,
than getting those big matches?
I think so. But once again, he's worked with DiBiase. Brad beat Ernie Ladd for the North American Championship in Louisiana. That doesn't happen unless Ernie Ladd wants you to go over. Uh, so Brad had some great opportunities, but I also think a huge issue with Brad, and I'm just speculating here, would be the confidence level and going out there and understanding. You're walking in some pretty big shoes or trying to follow some pretty big footsteps in the bullet. I mean, Bob was incredible. Bob, I can't stress enough how over Bob was in the South, and to this day, I think people still revere Bob Armstrong, kind of like the Ron and Don Wright, the Whitey Caldwells of the South, and the Fargos and the Lawlers and Dundees. I mean, it's that elite uh, wrestler, that elite performer who came in and they made an impact wherever they went. And Bullet Bob made an impact in Pensacola, Birmingham, Georgia, and when you talk about that style of wrestling in that time period, he's at the top of the list. So I think Brad, well, he had all the talent in the world and was well respected, well loved backstage. When he would go out and cut a promo, it was very uh, straightforward, babyface, yes sir, no sir, and by gosh, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to go out there and fight and all that good stuff. Whereas Bob could tell you about Fannie Mae Titwaller, and she bought me a new Grand Am or Trans Am last night, and we went out and we had us a daggum, Mountain Dew and moon pie, and it was great. You know, he would tell you a story that people would relate to, laugh at, enjoy, and then at the same time come right around and wrap it up by telling you he's going to kick somebody's ass, and you believed it by the time he was done.
Would Brad fit in today's era better?
I don't know about better per se, because Brad was a great worker, a great wrestler. As far as doing the things, he was capable. Let me say this: Brad was capable of doing the dancing and the performing like Road Dogg. Brad was capable of doing the wrestling. Scott was another great wrestler, a great worker who understood. And Steve was a great brawler. And Brad could do all those things. I think he fit better in the environment or in the era he was in. He knew how to get the reaction, and he knew how to get people behind him in the ring and by performing. And Ted DiBiase, again, if you watch any match with Ted DiBiase and Brad Armstrong, there's a great one from Oklahoma City that we use as a training tool. The timing is there, the feeling's there. It's the body language that Brad brought to the ring. I don't know if he would. I don't know, but I think Brad would actually fit in any era. I think he would fit better in the era he was brought up on, because that's the wrestling he loved. That's the wrestling he knew. And everybody else knew it when they stepped in the ring with him, and also when the people watched him work.
Here's a good question. Better wrestling family, the Armstrongs or the Von Erichs?
Wow. As far as, okay, that's pretty general. The Von Erichs and the Armstrongs both were in that area and era where they were regarded as local heroes, and the fans claimed them as their own. So I can't say who was better necessarily, but I will say that the Armstrongs and the Von Erichs would have been a great rivalry had life not given everybody such a horrific turn. But at the time, Kerry was about the same age as Brad. So was Kevin. So was David. I mean, they were all within the 2-year range, I think. And you had 3 Von Erichs coming up at the same time. You had Bullet Bob and Brad in Atlanta, winning the National Tag Team Championship. And the next one to come along, I think, was Scott. I believe Scott was the next one to make his debut, and they bought the Pensacola territory and started working in that area. It was a different vibe, but the same situation. A family who's taken over. You could hurt one, you could hurt a brother, the other brother come back for revenge, or the brother and father come back, you hurt the dad, the two brothers come back. There were a lot of different things you could have done with that, and they did do with it. And then all the tragedy starting in the 80s, it's like, oh my God. Just thinking about it today, and I do often, how different it was back then, and if David would have come back from Japan, or if Kerry would have survived and just had a longer run, and if, and then you find out if is a middle word in life, and Kevin living in Hawaii, I think, says it all. So the Armstrongs certainly had their strengths, and they were heroes in the South. The Von Erichs, my God, same thing in Texas, and they could do no wrong, and neither could the Armstrongs.
Here we have McAllister's 80s wrestling photos. I covered CCW in the late 80s for PWI. Tom was great. Always had time for studio pictures. Nice.
I bet you I did, because that was what you did. Again, if you notice Superstar and Dream and all their matches, they're working towards the photographers at MSG, because there were no internet coverage. And so the magazines were where you're going to get exposure. So, yeah. I appreciate, though, McAllister's 80s pro wrestling photos.
Yeah, covered CCW. Man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, right? That's very cool. Bill Otten covered CCW for a while. And I don't know where Bill's out of now. I think he was out of Florida at one time.
Philly now, isn't he?
Huh? Oh, maybe
Philly.
it is. I really don't know. I haven't talked to Bill in a long time.
Always enjoyed Tito Santana and Brad. Thought they would have been a great
team. I agree with that. Tito Santana and Brad Armstrong would have been a great, perfect babyface tag team. They complemented each other. And Tito, man, in my opinion, was one of those guys who was a lot bigger than he looked, especially when he stood next to him. And he had that uncanny ability to connect with the fans. I remember him being super over in Texas. And then when he went to Georgia and finally WWF, he got over. But I think, again, he was one of those guys who you get to a point. He was an intercontinental champion, tag champions. But you get to the point where you're just like, hey, is it worth fighting the fight every single day? Is it worth? And that's what you have to do. I mean, you have to go ahead and fight the fight every day and stay on your toes. I think Tito had been through pioneering one place before, a couple places, and I think he got to the point where he knew he and Martel were good. And who was he teamed with before that?
Ivan Putski for a while.
Putski, yes. He and Putski were champions. That's true.
Yep.
So, he would have made a great tag team partner with Brad, no doubt.
Did your brother bring Scotty into the WWF as a referee?
I don't know if he had. I don't know, actually. He could have been his brother. Could have been the Road Dogg. Don't really know.
Which Armstrong is the best worker? They all have their own skills, but which was the best worker overall?
Brad was the best worker overall. Wait. Yeah, the Armstrong brother. I want to make sure that was it. Because Bob, again, was in a class by himself. Brad was the best worker out of all the brothers, and I believe all the brothers would agree with me. So, yes, Brad certainly was the best worker. And I don't know if you couldn't have a match with Brad Armstrong, you shouldn't be in this business. He was so easy, not only to follow. If I was a heel, which I was, working with Brad. I worked with him as a babyface too, but as a heel, it was a night off because I could call it, but he called his spots too if he needed to, if he wanted to, if he had an idea. It was never an issue. And if he had somebody who was green and needed to be followed or needed to be led, he would lead them. And all they had to do was listen. That was when it was so great. You had a night off. If you were in there with somebody who knew how to call a match, if you were green, you just listened. And that was the fun part because you could hear the crowd reaction, you could see the results, and that's in my opinion a great worker. And Brad was a great worker. He was a general, and when it was his time to call it, he stepped up, and that's why he had a job in WCW for so long. He was credible, and he could go out there. He knew what to do and how to get the most out of what he was who he was working with.
So you travel the roads. I mean, if you could look at it, GCW, Georgia, Mid South, Memphis, then of course CCW, CWF, same thing, Continental, Smoky Mountain, a lot. I mean, you traveled up and down the roads for many, many years, decades with the Armstrongs. What were they like out on the road and stuff?
The best people in the world. I mean, really, that's Brad was my best friend in not just wrestling but in life. And I didn't get along with too many people. It's not. I don't know if I didn't get along. I just didn't mesh, didn't click with a whole lot of people, and I still don't. But Brad was that one guy. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what was said or how it was said. Uh, I don't remember ever having a cross word. I don't remember getting in an argument. I remember even when I was upset or pissed off, he would always say something and turn it around and make me laugh. And all these years, I remember, especially when he was either in Georgia and I was somewhere else doing whatever. I could call him and just say, "Hey, Brad, I have nothing to say and all day to say it." And then he'd start with a joke or a smart ass remark. They were great because there was never a dull moment. Um, if you're tired, cool, chill out for a little bit. But first of all, I'm going to drop an elbow on you, or I'm going to hit you with a chop, or I'm going to do something, and just to keep you on your toes, just to keep the time going. And Scott and Steve were the same way. Brad was in Atlanta, I think. Yeah, Brad was doing a stint in Atlanta when we were in Continental, and I know Scott and Steve and Bob shared an apartment like two exits down from me in Alabama, in Birmingham, and we weren't allowed to be seen together. But I would occasionally sneak over to the apartment. And that was when the business was the most fun because I don't know how else to explain it, but it was that synergy going on. And I don't know what you would call it today, ADHD or whatever, but there was always something going on. And if this lost their interest, something else happened, and they would always have something funny, witty, entertaining, interesting to say or talk about. And it didn't always have to revolve around wrestling. That was the cool part too. You could talk about anything and nothing all at the same time. And I miss that greatly because there's never going to be another Brad Armstrong. Never be another Bullet, in my opinion, either.
Better worker, Dean Malenko or Brad? I always like Dean Malenko's style.
I like Dean Malenko's style too. Um, once again, I don't know who I could say would be a better worker. They were both great in their presentation. Brad, in my opinion, had a little more animation, a little more body language, a little more feeling than Dean did. Dean was great in what he did. Never had the opportunity to work with Dean, but every time I saw him, he's another guy who was so serious when he'd go out there, but in the back, you wouldn't know it was the same guy. You're having fun, telling jokes, loosening up, lighting up the room. Have fun with this. If you're not having fun, what's the point? You have to be good. You have to be a pro, and you have to know what you're doing. But you have to also enjoy this, enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride. If not, this can be a miserable place to be, wrestling, because it's hard, man. It's not for everybody. You're traveling up and down the road. You come in the locker room, and some places are better than others, and some places are just sweat boxes. So you got to have some entertainment. We didn't have the video games, didn't have the cell phones, didn't have a lot of stuff except each other to talk to and play with, back and forth, mess with, dare I say, fuck with. And we did. It was great.
Brad had the best Russian leg sweep of all time. I agree with that.
He beat a lot of people with that leg sweep. And that's another thing. As long as people believed you could beat somebody with it and not do it just as a high spot. It was simple, to the point. And Brad could do anything. He had one of the greatest drop kicks, one of the greatest arm drags. Yep. He everything he did was smooth. Everything he did meant something. And that was so fun as a heel to have a baby face like that who understood it's about the story. It's not, and you're going to get over if you tell a great story. So it wasn't about getting all your stuff in. It was about working for the match and knowing what to get in at the time, knowing what to do, and knowing what not to do. So you're not trying to grab 50 pounds of shit in a 10-pound bag.
Of course, Brad unfortunately passed away way too soon. But in 2013, there's the Brad Armstrong Memorial event in Knoxville, Tennessee. You and Tim Horner, what a team that is, defeated Bob Orton and George South in the show. That's the last really Armstrong-related match you had as far as in-ring, was the Brad Armstrong Memorial.
Yeah, probably so. It was. Yeah. I mean, Brad passed away in 2012, I believe. And so we're coming up on the 10th anniversary. It'll be November 1st. It's right after Halloween, man, because I remember we had moved from Tampa, and our place wasn't ready in Knoxville yet. So we got a cabin out in Pigeon Forge with 2 dogs. And we've been driving all night. My wife had in her car, me in my car, and I had one dog, she had the other. And Brad called me like the morning, Halloween morning. I just got in, like maybe 2 hours before. I laid down, and he called and said, "You get in?" "Yeah." So, all right, cool. I said, "Well, I'll call you later on because or I'll call you tonight." He said, "I'm taking Jilly out to trick or treat." So I waited for him to call me that night. We never talked. Next morning, I called, no answer, and then his wife, Lori, called me back and gave me the news, and it was a horrible day. So, life happens. It just sucks when it happens to you, I guess. But I tell you, the cool thing we're doing this time, I hooked up with Lash LaRue, and and he wanted to come to the cemetery with me one day, one year, and we went out there. He said, "Hey man, I'd love to do this next time you go. Let me know." So we've been doing it, I think, for the last 4 years. He's come out with me, and dude, it's not for anybody but myself. If anything at all, I go out there and sit, and we have chairs, and we have a cooler, and we have conversation, and as long as I do it for me, that's all that matters right now. But we talk. Brad and I talk. Lash and Brad talk. We talk, and just about, again, nothing and everything all at the same time.
So I think we kind of can wrap up on the Armstrongs just because we have so many other questions coming in just randomly. But Chris Vick says, always glad to listen to Dr. Tom speak. Best match I ever had as a ref was of Brad versus Dr. Tom in Alabama for the Ted Allen show I referee.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think that might have been The last time I wrestled Brad, actually, because I remember that, and I think we were.
Dothan, Alabama.
Yes, was it? No, I don't think this was in Dothan. This was in Georgia. Or was it? Did I wrestle Brad in Dothan
In
last time?
2004. Yeah, that's the last match I could find of you guys having together.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe it
Unless
was.
it's not
But
listed anywhere online.
well,
Yeah.
I remember this because Ted asked us. He said what we were doing, and he said, "You got the baby face going over, right?" And I just looked at him like, "What do you think we would do? It's the last match. We send him home happy. Of course we do. And plus, I couldn't beat Brad if I if I tried or if I wanted to. Just anyway, yeah, that was very cool. So and the referee was awesome. Thanks, Chris.
This J Bones wasn't Brad Armstrong Yellow Dog. No, I believe that was Brian Pillman, wasn't he? Wasn't Brad Armstrong Candyman and
He was Candyman. He was
Bad Street?
Bad Street. Yeah.
Yep.
He was Bad Street. I don't think it was Yellow Dog. I don't
No, that
believe
was
he was.
Pillman. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eric Tate. Dr.
Eric, how are
Pillman.
you? I know
It was
you
a good
can't answer me
question.
back. I hate when people say,
Yeah.
"Hey, how you doing?" So I really can't answer you.
Was there ever a reason why Brad never went to WWE?
He was training guys, helping train guys in McDonough, Georgia. He had some matches with WWE. He was actually under contract for a little bit as a trainer, and he would go on the road and be a player coach. So he did, but by that time, I think he had knee surgery, and he had a wife and a daughter. He would go occasionally and work the matches, but he did work with WWE as a player coach and go out on the road and help the guys.
Kinda, yeah. Kinda made it there, just not really during his prime.
No, yeah. None of us were in our prime when we got. Well, I say none of us. Some of us weren't in our prime when we got there, but yeah, Brad was great. And when I started training the guys in McDonough, he would come on a regular basis, which was again a cool thing because not everybody takes to coaching and not everybody enjoys it. Not everybody does it the same way, which is great. But Brad and I were on the same page. We had the same philosophy. And that's a good thing to have. There's not too many people that mesh like that because usually I know the way I am, I want it done my way. And you can have your way. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying sometimes we may not agree and you want to bend the branch to the right and I want to bend it to the left. And doesn't make it the right way to do it. It's just it makes it one way to do it. And Brad and I worked the same way. I feel at least that's the way it was when we were doing it in Georgia, training the guys. So there was never any argument, never any discussion or upheaval of any time.
All right, let's take some random questions. But first, Jason, love the matches of the Heavenly Bodies with Cornette versus the Armstrongs in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I agree.
do too. Yeah, I do too. I loved it too because again, it's a night off. You're working with the boys and the baddest son of a bitch in the South, Bob.
Let's see here. Did you get along with Buzz Sawyer? Here, as we go into some random questions.
Yes, I did. I got along with Buzz. I got along with Brett, but I got along with Buzz. We had a few matches. I don't know how many, but I know it was more than one in Georgia. And he hit me in the mouth one time. He was outside the ring, and I was working, but I was going to get him, and he threw a punch, hit me right in the mouth. It wasn't hard, but it was enough to split my lip. And he came in and said, "Are you okay?" Yeah, no problem. It's not ballet. We get it. But I always got along with Buzz because he was snug, and he wanted you to hit him back. Didn't mind. And so it was good.
Does Cody Rhodes have the potential to become the top babyface in all of WWE?
Yes, I think he has mucho potential to be the top babyface in WWE. See, what a crying shame to have something like that, an injury where the muscle tears off the bone. Oh my God. So but coming back, he had people talking, had people interested. It's authentic. It's real. It's a family thing. People can look up the match. I made sure our guys know about the match and showed them and explained how important Dusty Rhodes was to the professional wrestling, to the business. He was an attraction like Andre the Giant. There was just a couple of those guys going around. And if you weren't alive during that time, it's hard to put it into perspective, I think. But I was alive and I was around the business. And then I got to work with Dream in Tampa. And Cody has a lot of Dusty inside him. It's man, he's got that confidence, he's got that belief, and that's what you need. So my God, I don't think Cody came for any other reason than to be the top babyface in WWE. He was laying the groundwork, and he worked hard, man. You got to give it to him.
Yep.
So that's what it takes. By all means, I think he has the potential to become the top babyface.
Dr. Tom versus Professor.
You know what I'm going
Toru
to say
Tanaka.
here, don't you? Yes.
What
yes,
year
yes.
was the match?
Had to be 1980 or around there, but there's no T in Prichard. Take the T out and put it on your back. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, Tanaka was cool too. I think that was around 80, 81.
Out there in Los Angeles, probably, right?
Either Los Angeles or Houston, Texas. One of the two. But I saw him in LA and Houston.
Can you tell me a time when somebody tried to shoot on you and what ended up happening?
No, I don't believe I've ever had any of those shoots. No, pretty much in there with workers. Thank God.
What tag team did you like best? You and Stan or you and Jimmy?
Once again, just both Stan and Jimmy, two different people, obviously. I enjoyed working with both, but Stan had already been
there, done that. Yeah.
Been there, done that. Yeah. And he had that demeanor about him. He was educated and experienced in the ways of big money and big matches. I had been doing what I was doing for many, many years. Going on 9 years at that time, I think, maybe 10, when Jim offered the deal. And the only reason Jim offered me the deal, I believe, is because Bobby couldn't come with Stan, because they were going to do the same thing with the Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express. So I enjoyed Stan welcoming me, not being an asshole, being engaging and entertaining, and he did his thing, I did my thing. We went out a couple times and had fun. And then Jimmy was a different kind of personality. I got along with him fine, but as I've said a few times before, I'll just say it real quick again. I'm one of these people who like to go in somewhere and not draw attention until it's time, if it is, and just kind of keep a low profile and just check out the lay of the land. But I like both of them. I mean, each guy had their own set of personality traits, I guess.
Favorite territory, least favorite territory?
One of my favorites has to be Pensacola, and I don't know if I had a least favorite. I would have to say Memphis, but in the end, I wound up enjoying the Memphis territory because I finally got it. I finally understood the rules, and I finally understood who was in charge, and I finally understood if you really want to be here, and even if you don't want to be here, where else do you have the opportunity to go? So I really don't have any least favorite. I enjoyed everywhere I went, but one of my favorites certainly was Pensacola. And Portland after that, because it really was fun.
Brooks said, I'm too old to wrestle, but always wanted to be a heel manager. Interesting.
Well, when you look at managers today, heel or babyface, whatever it may be, you've got Paul Heyman, and then I think you've got Paul Heyman. So,
yeah.
Where
did Dr. Tom, PhD, get the hair tease, the little hair flip?
Well, I needed something to do with my hands. Ricky Bobby, what do I do with my hands? I don't know what to do with my hands.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, it was just one of those things that um, I'm in a team now with Stan Lane and Jim Cornette as our manager. But even before that, I was doing that. Just it gave me something to do, and I had the long hair, and I hid my face. And now, if I'm coming down to why are you scratching your head? Do you have fleas? Of course I do. So that's where I got it from. Just thinking of something else to do when I got in between moves. So you're not just staying here like this. It's like, what do you notice? So you want to be moving. You want to do something. And
Yep.
that's what I want to do it. That's how I just did it.
The Oswalter, Dr. Tom versus Bruce. No question, but there is a question mark there. Tom versus Bruce? Question mark?
Okay.
It's gonna happen. It's got to happen. One of these.
It's happened. It's happened
Oh,
before. But
it's got to happen
I
again.
can't.
I mean, yeah.
Well, I can't tell you who came out. I can't. We have gone through the years.
Sworn to
Uh,
secrecy.
Well, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Even if I was, but over the years, we have been in predicaments and occasions and situations, if you will, and it's either him feeding off my energy or me feeding off his in the appropriate time. I remember my brother, who passed away just a couple months ago, had a birthday party. I think his 40th birthday party, and his wife got a room at the Embassy Suites in Houston, and she had promised him these great things if he went to go out to eat and stay at the Embassy Suites for his birthday. And she had got everybody together for a surprise birthday party, and we were all up in the room waiting. And they come in and surprise Ken, and so we go into our routine. And this is in front of people who really don't know us, and we really don't know them. And we have a sense of humor. We have a way of going about communicating that some of these people weren't quite sure where it was going, how to take it. So there might have been some misinterpretation, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. And the next day, everybody's going to go out on the boat, and we're going to have a good time. And during the night before, there were these people who we were engaging with, and then on the boat, how can I say this? We engaged them again, and we were ribbing to the extent that Ken came to me and said, "Hey, I think you need to back off a little bit." So Bruce and I have been in predicaments because Bruce was the heel the night before, then I became the heel the next day on the boat.
Right.
But it was all in good fun until they didn't understand where it was going and how it was coming about. And I don't know that I know that means nothing. I explained absolutely nothing. I get it. But Bruce and I have been in these situations where it called for Detective Clouseau to straighten out the situation and make sure everybody understood what was going on. And sometimes he would be Inspector Clouseau. Sometimes I would be Inspector Clouseau.
Nice.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So we'll just do one final question. I know there's a bunch of good ones in here, so please save those. Same time next week. You got a lot of good questions here. But from Barnes, who is the guy with the most potential that didn't fill out that potential? He didn't fulfill his destiny.
Yeah. The first one that comes to mind is Lex Luger. Just because I was there for the whole Lex Express thing. That was our first run. When we first got up to WWE and saw how Lex was being pushed and perceived, and everybody had such high hopes. And God, how could you not look at Lex and not think he had potential? But once again, you have to learn. you don't get there by yourself. You need a team. You better be nice to your team, or at least cordial, or at least cooperative, and know how to go about what they ask / tell you to do. So that's what I think of first.
Let's talk about your book, A Pro Wrestling Curriculum, Advice, Suggestions, Stories to Help the Aspiring Pro Get to the Next Level. Where can everybody get the book?
First of all, did I tell you that the gentleman who came to see us Monday and Tuesday, Showcat from Manila, actually based his dojo, his school, off this curriculum right here? And you could get the very same book if you go to jpwrestlingacademy.com. It's on the front page. Click on the book, take you right to Amazon. You can order it. jpwrestlingacademy.com.
He's not the only one, because I heard Create a Pro, I heard Victor, I heard Connor, a bunch of guys with their schools down there. They're using your stuff.
Fantastic.
You got to take it and tweak it, but they use a lot of your stuff, which is cool.
That's what you do. It's not, you don't have to go necessarily A, B, C, D. It's like everything else in this business. It's just a suggestion.
Yes. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. Of course, you can follow Dr. Tom on Twitter at Dr. Tom Prichard. Also, go to Pro Wrestling Tees, ProWrestlingTees.com. Visit the JPWA store or the Dr. Tom store. Dr. Tom, what else you got going on?
Well, we have 2 more weeks of this class, and they're graduating. And then our next class, our summer class, is when it's going to really get hot, and that's July 4th. So we're finishing this up. Busy, busy, busy. A lot of cool things happening, and hopefully we can talk about them soon.
Nice. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. We'll see you right back here next week for We'll Take You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. We'll see you next week, folks.